We have to be very clear that our foreign policy depends on the choices we make at the domestic level. What are our domestic policies? What is the vision that we have of for a society of Sri Lankans with a Sri Lankan identity, based on a domestic policy which is based on the needs of the people, of all of its people, and for the defense of the sovereignty and the independence of our people. Sri Lanka has played a very important role. We have a very positive and credible image internationally because of the role we played soon after independence. We are known not as just the founders but the promoters of the non-aligned movement. That defended and developed the multilateral principles on which the United Nations is based and on which the international relations are still based, even today. So fundamentally, the principles that we helped to evolve within the United Nations were permanent sovereignty, the right of peoples to self-determination. Now, I know that today in Sri Lanka, self-determination is a bad word because we associate it with the tigers. But the right of peoples to self-determination is the peoples of Sri Lanka. And our independence and sovereignty that we won in 48 was based on that right to self-determination. And today the interstate relations in the multilateral system, it continues to be based on that. Permanent sovereignty of the natural resources, territorial integrity, non-intervention, non-interference, etc. If the so-called international community, and now I'm speaking about the US and its allies, are so interested in Sri Lanka, it has nothing to do with the Sri Lankan people, nor our interests, nor human rights. So we've got to get that straight. They are not out there moving a resolution because they believe that the interests and the rights of the people, Tamils or Sinhalese or Muslims, are at stake. They are out there because, one, they have a strategic interest in this region. We are on a very strategic maritime corridor that links east-west and west-to-east. And at the same time, we are being used in a much for a different purpose, which is in the design of this new architecture that I would like to also describe. What is it that the US and the West think is wrong in the system? They think that the United Nations, multilateralism, a system based on sovereign equality between states is out of date. Because, and the bigger the crisis, the more important it is for them to find legitimization to recolonize. They had to intervene again in the former colonies in order to gain control of the wealth and resources that are concentrated there. Whether it's petrol, whether it's gas, whether it's other resources, natural wealth and resources, whether it's human resources, whether it's the knowledge that we have, traditional knowledge, whether it's biodiversity. There is a lot of resources out there in Africa, in Latin America, in Asia, and they need to get hold of it. And Eurasia has been described even by Brzezinski as the region that has the largest concentration of global resources. And the United States, in order to maintain its global supremacy, has to take control of Eurasia. So that's we are just what somebody said, pawn in the grand chessboard of global strategy. The objective of the United States within the United Nations is to develop concepts that are more in line with the new thinking. That is a line that would allow them to intervene unilaterally into the internal affairs of countries. They want to dismantle the multilateral system and the principles on which they are based. And there are new concepts that are being developed. The new concepts, for instance, include R2P, responsibility to protect, concepts like good governance. Nobody knows what good governance really means. It's not defined. Concepts like failed states. By the way, I just wanted to inform you that I just checked the failed states index, which is an index that was developed by a foundation that's close to the State Department, and we are number 27 on the list, and we are considered to be a critical state. If we look at interventions in Iraq or Libya or Yugoslavia. They didn't stop with Milosevic. They didn't stop once he left. They went in and they dismantled the state. They didn't stop once Saddam Hussein was gone. They went in and dismantled Iraq. and put various ethnic groups one against the other. They created chaos. They went into Libya, they got rid of Gaddafi, but they didn't stop with Gaddafi. Libya is also in pieces. Somalia is in pieces. Syria, they're already beginning to work at that, at dismantling the state. Once we know what our interests are and which countries share those interests, with whom we share those common interests, once we know that, then we build alliances with them, but on the basis not of simply cooperation, but genuine cooperation. Genuine cooperation meaning it has to be based on principles of solidarity, of mutual interest, complementarity, and not just when we need a vote. We have to work at it from the beginning, 365 days in the year. We have to work at building relations with our potential friends and allies and our natural friends and allies. And we have them within the non-aligned movement. And we don't do that. Brazil is a continent. It takes 9 hours to fly from one side of Brazil to the other side. There's only one diplomat. Brazil is a very important country globally. It's one of the big BRICS, member of the BRICS, and we have to work with them. They have a huge influence in the region, in Latin America, and globally. The relationship between Brazil and China and South Africa and Russia and India is very important. So they are very important. And I would like to also say that other countries, Asian countries, take Latin America very seriously. We don't. We think Latin America is far away. We have some kind of strange notion that it's full of dictators and that is also very poor. And we don't understand them because they speak a different language and we don't know what they're saying. But when we need their vote in Geneva, special session, by the way, Diane, you will explain this probably further if necessary. But Latin America, much of Latin America signed on with the West, calling for the special session, and we managed to change that around. And they don't know who is. Since we don't have a presence in Latin America, they don't know we exist. The only thing they know about Sri Lanka is that country, there's some genocide taking place, or that's the country with war criminals. But where did they get that story from? They get it from the Western press, because that's what they read. It's translated. They pick up from the main Western news agencies. They translate it into Portuguese and Spanish, and that's what they hear. Now, if we are out there, and if there are 1 or 2 or 3 diplomats, but at least with the resources that we need to reach out to those people and explain to them what is Sri Lanka, where is it, what are our interests, who are the people, then they look at it differently. And that has been my experience both in Brazil and Cuba.